We'll call the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Carter. Here. Huffman. Here. Modis Castillo. Here. McGuire. Here. Ortega. Aye. Reinhardt. Here. McDonough.
Here. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First item is to approve the agenda for March 12th.
So moved. Second.
You got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ortega. Aye. Reinhardt. Aye. Carter.
Yes.
Huffman.
Aye.
Modis Castillo.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye. The next item is the minutes from approval of the minutes from February 26th. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any corrections? Roll call.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes.
Huffman.
Aye.
Modis Castillo.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye. All right, we have two items under the ordinance procedures. The first one is waiving the second reading of our capital improvement program bond ordinance. Do I have a motion to waive the second reading?
Second.
We have motion. Second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Carter. Yes. Huffman. Modis Castillo.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye. The next item is to hold our public hearing on our 2019 capital improvement program bond ordinance. I'm going to declare the public hearing open. And we do not have any list of anybody who's pre-signed up, but if you have come here to speak at the public hearing and your name is not already on the list, please sign in at the public information table so we know. And if there's anybody here to speak, please come on up. Oh, I thought you was coming. Do you? All right, second call. Is there anybody here to speak on the public hearing for our capital improvement program bond ordinance? Third call, anybody here to speak on our 2019 capital improvement program bond ordinance? Seeing nobody here to speak, I will close the public hearing and move on the agenda. Administrative items. Commissioner Ortega.
Mr. Chair, I move item number 7.
Can we pull that?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'd like to pull that one if we could.
Yep.
Oh, pull, okay. Move item number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11, 12, 13, 14.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Carter. Huffman.
Aye.
Modest Castillo.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
McDonough.
Item number 7 is the 2019 Violence Against Women Act Services Training Officers, Prosecutors, Special Projects Grant. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Huffman.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to pull that out special. This is something that we at the county have focused on a lot. I thought maybe I'd ask if County Manager O'Connor has any words about it, but it's a great thing what we're doing, and I'm proud of that we're doing it. I wanted to pull it out and draw some attention to it.
Great. County Manager O'Connor.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Huffman, thank you for that. This builds on the Start by Believing work that Ramsey County's been doing for a while and has been something started in the county attorney's office, has brought the sheriff's office in as well in a partnership, and has worked with this board and other places across the organization, namely public health, on important work. And you can see here how this continues to ingrain this important work across our organization, embed within the idea that we do need to start at the point of believing. Believe survivors and work with them to build a stronger community. And thanks to the Sheriff's Office and the County Attorney's Office for their important partnership to carry this forward.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Modest Castillo.
Yes, I just want to echo those comments in regards and call out Attorney John Choi, who's really been a champion along with all of us. I know that it isn't, this issue is personal to many of us, and this is incredibly important. And so we continue to champion and to fight against violence against women. It's especially prominent as this is Women's History Month, and it was International Women's Day on Friday. And so this goes along with all of that great work going on in the county. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to also remind people that because of our chair and the entire work of our board and the domestic violence, the Domestic Abuse Prevention Project, we have a hockey game with Ramsey County and St. Paul that benefits the violence prevention services and those organizations. So
Coming up in April.
it's coming up in April.
Yeah, thank you for that. Anybody else? Roll call.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Carter. Yes. Huffman. Aye. Modest Castillo. McGuire.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye. Commissioner McGuire, legislative update.
Okay, so we are about 2 months into our, 2.5 months into our 5-month session, so we're coming close. This is our first deadline is this Friday, so the legislators and will be working hard in their committees to get it through either one of the bodies. The bills need to be heard in at least the House or the Senate in order for it to continue on. So they're working on that. We have a number of us that are going to be up at the Capitol this week. I know that Commissioner Reinhardt is leaving this meeting to go up there, and she can talk about the bills that she's going to be speaking on. Our winter recreation area bill is being heard hopefully today, and we have a couple of hearings on that to get that through the first deadline, so we're excited about that. And I just want to say that the Ramsey County League of Local Governments is having their meeting on Thursday night. We had worried about whether the legislators are actually going to make it there or not, but they're having their meeting, and it's going to be at the Roseville Oval, which is on County Road C in Lexington, and it's from 6:30 to 8. And this is where I would encourage all of us to be there. With this is when the state senators and representatives are invited with all of our city council, mayors, school board members to come and have a conversation about what's going on at the legislature. So it's usually a well-attended event. I'm a little nervous about it not being closer to the Capitol. And of course, the timing is not great for the legislative session, but we're hoping that we get a good turnout for those people that can be there. So that's 6:30 to 8 this Thursday night.
Great.
So, thank you.
Commissioner Huffman.
I just wanted to give a quick update on some other
Yes.
legislative
Oh,
issues. So, as you all know, there was a company in White Bear Township that had a chemical spill. For some time, chemicals have been emitting from this plant, and the MPCA has done a great job of coordinating that. I know Commissioner Reinhardt and I have spent numerous meetings with the different folks there. But anyways, the legislative update is, so just yesterday we met with 3 senators, maybe 2 senators and 2 or 3 reps, along with the neighborhood group, and it was great to see that out of this tragedy, out of this bad stuff, this bipartisan bills coming forward. Senator Chamberlain, Senator Uyghur, Representative Fisher and Wozniak, I want to say.
Wozniak.
Thank you. We're all sponsoring it on the House and the Senate. And there's three bills that'll go through, and they're confident it would be passed out of both chambers this week. That would, one, eliminate the use of TCE at some point here in the near future. Two, take some of the funds that were in the penalty and the fine and sequester them for events like this. And three, really changing the way notifications happen on settlements. And so anyway, so out of this bad stuff, it's great to see that legislation's happened really quick on that.
Commissioner Reinhardt?
And actually, I'm testifying on 3 different bills today. And actually, although one of them, I think today, or the next few days, because of the deadline,
Yes.
we're all going to be spending probably a lot of time up there. So I have 3 today and 2 tomorrow, I think. Anyhow, one of them is on the Senator Chamberlain bill regarding banning of TCE. And then and Representative Wozniak is the author in the House. And the other one that it has a hearing is the community group, the stakeholder. The fine that's already been imposed against Water Gremlin, how will that be spent? And trying to make sure that the community, the neighborhood group has a say in that. So that doesn't talk about what's going to happen in the future, but the fine that's already been spent. And I do think it's important to note that I've been at 3 meetings in the last 3 days, basically, actually 4, if you include the forum that was in the evening, that both Commissioner Laura Bishop from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and Jim Kelly, I'm not sure what his title is, with the Minnesota Department of Health, they are at the table really working with the legislators and with the community groups. So it's great to see both working together, trying to figure out what is the best thing we can do, not just for this neighborhood, because that's the most important thing right now, but then also what can we do, because there are, I think it was around 80 companies that still use TCE, and it's on the list, or was on the list, to be banned at the federal level by the EPA, and that's slowed down a little bit. So, we can do it here. And it's something that needs to be faced. Kind of like when you think back to the refrigerants for our hockey arenas. We needed to be able to phase that out because there are less dangerous and toxic materials that can be used. There are alternatives. They cost more.
Right.
But you have to do that for the environment and for our children.
Good work. Any other? Commissioner McGuire?
After we're done with the state, I'm just going to talk a little bit about NACO, if you want me to do it now, or I can do it in my other.
Why don't you do it in your update?
Am I after?
Yep.
Okay.
Did
I
you
just
have a-
wanted to add that we also passed the Equal Rights Amendment
That's right.
off the
Yes.
House floor on Thursday.
Yes, I
So
wanted to say that
really
right.
important historic moment
Yes,
in
this is
Minnesota.
historic,
So it did pass off the House floor. Obviously, we had a resolution a couple weeks ago supporting that, and now we hope that it will get a hearing in the Senate. So.
Great.
Thank you for all your work on that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Commissioner.
All right. County Connection, Commissioner Reinhardt.
I do want to just add on to that as well, that when we were at NACO also, and here, talking to legislators and talking to folks, we really got attention for what we did here in Ramsey County by putting a dollar amount on it. And I think the most poignant one for me was in talking to, I'm on the Resilient Counties Advisory Board, and I'm going to give this quick update now because I have to leave. But is the chair of it at one point finally, because I brought up the issue of disparities and equities regarding the Equal Rights Amendment and the pay for women, along with other issues. And we talked about the fact that that does tie into disasters, basically. And how you can recover. And the statement that he had made a couple of times, and I think, and other people came up to me afterwards and thanked me for bringing it up, was disasters don't discriminate. Response does.
And so it was all tied back to the work that we had done here. And I think that that's something really important for us to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Response does. And so I just thought it was a really poignant moment for me, and I appreciate all the work that our staff did and that Commissioner Modis Castillo put into it.
Good. Thanks for sharing. All right, County Connections, County Manager O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to start with the recognition of one of our longtime employees, Joe Mansky. Come on down. Oh, and anyone that wants to join Joe as we take the next few moments to recognize / embarrass him, please come on up. Welcome.
Welcome, Joe.
What do I win here?
First, you got to pick a door, 1, 2, or 3.
I'm afraid of that.
We don't know what the prize is behind any of them, so I wanted to call Joe up to have an opportunity just to recognize Joe and the work that he has led on behalf of Ramsey County as our elections manager since 2002. And I want to take a few moments and just highlight a few pieces of work from Joe's background. He's going to get to hear the same things repeated multiple times this week. I think he knows the story better than we do, but for the benefit of all here and watching. In 1988, Joe was Minnesota became the first state that began election night reporting, and during that time, Joe earned a reputation with a statewide mantra, "You better call Joe." I think that has continued on to his time coming to Ramsey County. He became the state's election director at the age of 34, and in the early 90s, designed a red sticker you may have seen once or twice before, "I voted." And I find this fascinating because, you know, growing up then as a kid at a time when the sticker existed, I will just say I thought every state everywhere had always had these. And reading the Pioneer Press article recently on the background, one of the cooler moments was going up to him afterwards and being like, "I just thought that everywhere, everybody had always had these. You're the reason those in fact exist." After leaving the Secretary of State's office, Joe came to Ramsey County in 2002 to become our elections manager. He's a walking encyclopedia of Minnesota state election law with a great memory. He's helped draft laws for the state legislature that have made this state more accessible, fair, and easier to vote. He's been a continued proponent of that at every turn. I doubt that that will now stop simply because of his retirement here. And rumor has it that this Friday we can all stop and look up at the sky and appreciate the fact that the city of St. Paul will be naming March 15th as Joe Mansky Day. So keep that in mind this Friday and wish everyone a happy Joe Mansky Day when you see them. But Joe, in all seriousness, just a heartfelt appreciation from myself and the county managers before me, the rest of the organization, for the work you've done to ensure that we become a county of excellence and continue to strive to do more every chance we get when it comes to elections. I think you have been a huge proponent of the idea that there is nothing more fundamental and important in the work that we do than the right of individuals to show up and cast a ballot and be heard. And we have taken that to ways where we have become seen as a county that's more accessible and trying to meet every individual resident where they are at when it is an opportunity to get to vote. And for that, I just want to extend my thank you and appreciation on behalf of Ramsey County. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Brian.
Joe.
Ryan and Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I just wanted to say very briefly that when Dorothy McClung asked me to come here 17 years ago now, I told her that since I had been working about less than a mile from here, that I always thought that Ramsey County should be a leader because, after all, the state capital is on our territory, and so that's what I told her I wanted to do when I came here, was to make our county a leader and to do things here that other people would want to emulate, and hopefully that's what we've been able to do. I think, as Ryan said, I don't think that any county provides the kind of voting opportunities that we do here, and has made the outreach to the community that you have enabled me to do. And I do want to just thank you sincerely for providing me with everything I have ever asked for. I'm sure that Lee is probably glad to see me go. But seriously, and I would be remiss if I didn't also mention former Commissioner Haig and Commissioner Parker and Commissioner Bennett. But seriously, everything I have ever asked you for, you have given me, and hopefully it's because you knew that I would do a lot of good with it. So again, I am sincerely thankful for the opportunity to have been able to work for you. And as of a couple of weeks ago, of course, you saw my successor in action, and I am confident that I am leaving the organization on your behalf in very good hands.
Good. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you also. I think that your reputation goes even far beyond Ramsey County and Minnesota, even at the National Association of Counties. The way that we do things and your name are always connected, and as far as what we do. But I think it's also important to note that I have been in many meetings with you with the Secretary of State, the previous Secretary of State and others, but the current Secretary of State as well. And so he is a leader not only in Ramsey County, but you can see the things that we do in Ramsey County then are emulated through the state, or trying to get legislation changed so that it makes it easier for people to register to vote. And even the early voting or no excuse absentee voting many, many years ago when you first came was something that we were a pilot program for. It didn't get renewed, but ultimately we got it for the entire state because it just makes sense to do that. And the I voted, yeah, I thought they always existed, but then I always thought you always worked for Ramsey County too, so. Yes, and I think that, I'm glad that the Pioneer Press did the article that they did so that people really understand. I can't remember where I was, but I was talking about the fact that you had come up with that, and the person that I was talking to was so excited because she had voted early and she got a pin so that she could actually reuse it. And so it was like, it's even getting better. So, but for everything, especially, the registration and still pushing forward, and I hope that you will still continue to do that, to have registration when you are a senior in high school, that it's automatic so that people understand the value that they have when it comes to voting in general anyway, but that their vote counts. And that's the message that you have sent and have found ways to make it easier for people to do it, which is why we have provided the funds, because we knew what they were being used for and that it would increase our voting. It would increase the awareness to people of how important it was. So thank you so much for your leadership. And on that note, I have to leave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. And I must say that this is the only county in the state where you can get an I voted button.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to echo my colleagues and the county manager's sentiments about how grateful we are for your vision and leadership in this area that is so important to our democracy and to, the public policy that we all want to see happen. And so I first met you, Joe, when you were at the Secretary of State's office. I was in the legislature, and I thought you were amazing then. And knowing so much about the state, I always felt like we were in good hands there. I was so sad when you were leaving there, and grateful that you were staying in my county, in Ramsey County. And when I came here, I was really excited to be able to work with you and really support all the good work of you and your amazing staff in really getting the word out about how important it is to be a part of this democracy. I just want to personally thank you for all the meetings you've done in our districts, and mine specifically. You visited all of my school districts and getting our teachers, our teacher liaisons and our students on board with being election judges, and then getting them to be registered for voting. And I just, all of your leadership in those groundbreaking efforts, I just really appreciate. So, and I love the fact that you bike everywhere. I don't know if people know, but Joe bikes everywhere. You probably bike to work today because it's a little warmer, but I just wish you safety in your biking and lots of great
adventures in the outdoors as you leave here. But please don't leave this issue, and I hope we see you a lot at the Capitol advocating for these great issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Ortega.
Well, first of all, I want to echo all the previous comments, but it's been really an honor and a pleasure all these years to work with you, Joe, and you're really a living legend because I have quite a few judges in my district, and you walk on water for them. So if I made the mistake once of being a little critical of you men about over a decade ago, and I really got swamped by it. So it's just been a pleasure and an honor, not just because of obviously your track record, but as a person. You've always been accessible, you're personable, and it's easy to talk to you, and I think that makes a difference.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Huffman.
Mr. Chair, Joe, just first of all, let me wish you a happy retirement and best wishes as you enter that next phase of your life. But just yesterday, I was speaking to the Hmong Prep Academy, and as we talk about Ramsey County, one of our slides is on voting, and there was that darn sticker that we talked about, and everyone recognizes that, and I said, you know, literally, guys, this week is that we're going to get to go say farewell and best wishes to the gentleman who created that. So thanks for all the work at Ramsey County, and best wishes in your future.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Carter.
You know, I cannot repeat everything that's been said. I certainly won't. But I do just want to echo these thoughts and also say, Joe, at least on election night now, your phone will be a little bit quieter because when they said call Joe, they really meant call Joe. And I know so many people are going to miss you, including all of the organizations that we work with who advocate for voters' rights and work so hard for it. As I talk with them, you know, I always hear, well, you know, Joe Mansky's the expert. If there's any question about voting or about elections, they all point to you. And I know, as I said, at least your phone's going to be a little quieter on election night. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Best wishes.
Joe, a few of your accomplishments have been called out. I want to lift one more up, and it's one that you're going to be able to watch progress here and take a sense of pride in. When you came to us about the recognition that we have the two lowest House seat voting turnout in the state. The difference between Dave Pinto and Tim Mahoney's seats, 7 miles apart, is 50% drop off. And bringing that to the board and for us to work through our equity lens and in helping ensure people and all people in our community understand the value of voting and how we can help make that work for people in our community, and whether it's, you know, different laws and rules to make voting easier, but really the work that we'll be doing through policy and planning that you brought to us through the elections department to really bring voices to votes to residents in Ramsey County that haven't used their voice before. And that's something that you brought to us, and that's going to be ongoing, and I hope you watch with a sense of pride as we start seeing those numbers pick up in those, not just those two, but that's where the focus will start.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and I think we are off to a really good start with that, and I think you probably heard from Dave and the staff a couple of weeks ago that we're already starting to see some benefits from the work that we put in. And remember, we did this on kind of on an ad hoc basis. And again, forgive me, Lee, because now we need some real resources to do this. But Mr. Chairman, in your district alone, Boys and Girls Club, our registration was up 9% this year. St. Paul's registration was up 5.8%. So clearly, what's going on in the community is working, and so I hope that I hope you do choose to stick with that. I think that's a big missing element of everything that we've been trying to do here.
Good, thank you. One more round of applause. Thank you, Joe, for his great work.
Thanks, everyone.
Jackie, why don't you come up and we'll have Jackie get a nice picture with you and your team here before you.
So, Joe, you chose door 1. See, if you'd chosen door 2, we were going to do a roast. So, good call.
Thank
Great,
you.
thanks very much.
All right, Ryan, any more on your county connections update?
Yeah, just getting started, Mr. Chair. A couple more on the election piece. Dave, Go back 3 steps, please. We're not going to let you leave quite that quickly. So as we continue moving our work ahead, I just wanted to announce that effective March 18th, so next week, David Triplett has been named the interim elections manager, and Christina Tveeten, who is out of town today, so not here with us, has been named the interim assistant elections manager in that office. The assignments follow the retirement of Mr. Mansky and will continue through the 2019 election season to ensure that we have continuity at an important time for our organization in that work. Dave will report to Chris Samuel, and then obviously Christina will report to Dave. Dave graduated from the University of Minnesota, joined Ramsey County in October of 2003, and currently works as an elections administrator. And so we're really excited to have you join us, come on board and be a part of this work. We got to see you present a few weeks ago at a board workshop, and the passion and knowledge is undeniable. And so welcome into your interim role here. And I just wanted to make sure we could tie a name to the face while we had you up front.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Dave.
You want to say a couple words before you ride off?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and Joe's phone might be getting a little quieter, but he'll probably still hear from me occasionally. So.
Thanks,
But
Dave.
thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Welcome. All right.
2 other just real short, quick updates for you. In the category of not sexy news, but important stuff to the underlying foundational elements of our work, as of March 6th, property tax records and election services addressed the final non-compliant servers that we had that had been raised through a 2015 audit. 61 servers were investigated, migrated, upgraded, and or decommissioned since this work began. You know, this is the kind of thing that doesn't feel like a big deal on the outside, but it's hugely important work that began the summer of 2016. We could not be more proud of that accomplishment coming the whole way through. It highlights why this modernization effort that we continue to talk about really matters. And when we talk about things like election security, it's important to get people out to vote, and then it's important to ensure that where we vote and where that information sits, as well as all of our other information coming through property tax records and election services, is safe and protected. So a big shout out to the Information Public Records team for that. And finally, as of today, we're rolling out a new countywide item called the High Five. It's an instant recognition program that we have for coworkers that acknowledges good work to one another across the organization. It takes just a minute to fill out. You can access it at ramseynet.us/high5. So you should all try it at some point. I'm yearning for a high five this week if you're willing to do it.
Oh, I love it.
How is that for a cheap plug, right? There are no low fives, so you have to do that some other way. Actually, this started in IPR a little bit ago. We started to run it through that service team approximately a quarter ago. It's been part of their broader recognition efforts and our countywide efforts to think about how do we do recognition at different levels, and not always through formal means here, but through employee to employee as well. And we've seen more than 100 high fives given in that service team as they began to work out the kinks. And there are 230 staff in that service team. So 100 high fives through 230 staff gives you a sense of the size. Good. We go countywide today out of the excitement for what it means. And it is a really neat tool as individuals get new jobs. It's a way to highlight and say, hey, congratulations. You can tie the supervisor in as well. And it's just been one of those things where you immediately see that employees want opportunities to recognize one another. And so I just wanted to call that out as a way we're trying to move our talent attraction, retention, promotion work forward. Thank you.
Well, let me be the first to give you a human touch.
Yeah, there we go.
Commissioner Ortega, any outside board and committee reports?
Yeah, I do have one announcement, and that is in the past week, Senora Castillo has passed away. Senora Castillo and her husband started the West Side Clinica, which is now a huge clinic both on the west side and the east side. And they started that, about 40 years ago in a little office space in the old neighborhood house building with volunteer doctors. And it grew to the clinic it is today, serving thousands and thousands. As a matter of fact, I think it's our main community provider of healthcare services. And Castillo Park is named after both her and her husband, and that was about 20 years ago, and we had a rededication just a couple of months ago. She's a wonderful lady, 99 years old, little shy of making her 100th birthday, still a powerhouse in the community, and I just wanted to shout her name out because she did great things for the city of St. Paul.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hoffman. Director Mattis Castillo.
Yeah, just two quick things. One is I want to just call out our public works staff who, once again, are doing great things. This time, beyond the snow plowing, so we're all still grateful for that. But want to talk about the second train that we've talked about for many years to Chicago. Kevin has worked really hard, and we are now officially rebranded the Great River Rail Line, which is fantastic. So with a great logo, we're working on a tagline. So if anyone has any great ideas for a tagline that really talk about the reason for a second train to Chicago, we're happy to hear those. And I just want to raise the point, the Minnesota Department of Transportation gave us a briefing at our meeting last week and said that this second train brings $25 million in economic benefit to Minnesota. So it's incredibly important in addition to, having that opportunity for people to travel. And it's really an opportunity that people from all backgrounds and diversities can connect together on the train, multiple places along the way with multiple stops. So you could go down to Red Wing for the day and come back with the second train, which we don't have that now. So great work, Kevin. And then the other thing I just want to share is that yesterday, Judge Starr, who happens to be a constituent of mine, invited me to mental health court. And so I had the opportunity to participate in mental health court and really observe the staff and our great staff from our mental health department that are working on cases to help keep folks with severe and persistent chronic mental illness out of the prison system and get them the actual services they need. And so just really want to give a great shout out to the work that's happening there. It is apparent that they are working very closely with people who are in that situation. They're getting them housed, they're getting them the service they need, and helping to stabilize so that we're reducing the number of folks that are entering in incarceration. So wanted to give a great shout out to our staff as well, working with the mental health courts.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter.
Thank you. I just will give a high five to our Workforce Innovation Board for sending a delegation to our Capitol this past week and focusing on WIB Day at the Capitol, on the work that our Workforce Innovation Board is doing, the support that is needed, not just from WIOA, from the federal level, but also from our state, to continue the work that we are doing in economic development and in jobs, tying jobs and economic development together. So thank you also to our new director, Ling Becker, who was able to coordinate that visit, and especially to the policy director, Sean Mullen, the policy chair at the Workforce Innovation Board, Sean Mullen, for leading the calls that we had with our legislators. It was great that they were able to talk about all this work. They did want to focus, and were able to do so successfully, on the funds that come through for youth jobs, and on the need in schools for the alignment of counselors who can help young people through their process of matriculating through schools to prepare for work. So just a big thank you, shout out, and high five to our Workforce Innovation Board.
Thank you. Commissioner McGuire.
Thank
any
you.
updates?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'm glad we let Commissioner Reinhardt leave for the Capitol so I could give a full report. Actually, Mr. Chair, many of us were fortunate to be at our national conference of county organizations, our NACO conference in Washington, D.C., where we were able to meet with our congressional delegation and really hear from national leaders and participate in national conversations about really important topics. And I think one of the most important things we do on these in this organization is we participate in the committee process, where we vote on policies that the entire country, then votes on, or that we bring forward as representatives from the entire country, that we bring forward to our congressional delegation. So that's important. I know that I serve on the Justice and Public Safety Committee, and I know that we have many of us that serve on the Health and Human Services. I know you chair the Economic Development, that we serve on Transportation and Environment, and we're strong voices in there. And I just couldn't be more proud of our delegation as a board, that we are strong voices in those committees to bring our policy issues forward. And also, we were fortunate to have meetings with our congressional delegation. We met with Congresswoman McCollum. We had a a great conversation with her, which will continue here in our state, but it was great to connect on the issues that we share, and she's very excited to work with us on things that we care about. And then we also met with Congresswoman Angie Craig, because she borders our district, and we share a lot of the same issues with her congressional district. And then we met with staff from Senator Smith's office, Senator Tina Smith, and she was very receptive and open to all of the issues that we brought forward to her. Also, it was great that as one of the keynote speakers at the entire conference is our own Senator Amy Klobuchar came and spoke, and as coming from the county, her work as a county attorney, she really does understand what counties need, and so I think she did a great job, and I think really her message really resonated with counties on how she thinks how she knows we all need to work together. Also want to say that Commissioner Carter and I, in her role as Healthy Counties and in all of our participation in the large urban county caucus, we gave a Pritzker update, so that was great that we were able to do that. And just personally, I serve on Healthy Counties as well, and we had a great speaker on early childhood. I also serve on Programs and Services Committee, Arts and Culture, and then one of my newest committee, the Post Committee, Parks, Open Space, and Trails, and we're really going to have a national effort to really increase our resources into our parks, open space, and trails, which I know we really support in this state. Also, I was fortunate to sit in on Congresswoman McCollum's committee hearing. She's the chair of a committee of the Parks of Interior, Parks and Infrastructure, and it was a great committee, and then they got called to the floor, so we joined her at a floor session where they discussed House Resolution 1, which is on campaign finance reform. So we were able to hear some of that debate, and that is a really important topic for this entire country, is campaign finance reform. And so that was great that we were able to be a part of that. So all in all, it was it was just a conference that I think we all got a lot out of. And then just want to say that, segueing into another topic, everybody have a happy St. Patrick's Day on Sunday. But if anyone else wants to add anything, because I know we were most of us were all there and participating in really great conversations at NACO.
Good. Thank you. All right. Before we adjourn, 10 minutes. Commissioner Mattis Castillo will chair our workshop, 2019-2021 Economic Development Work Plan and Initiatives. That'll be downstairs in the large conference room. And then with everybody testifying at the Capitol, there's no afternoon workshop this week, but their individual pictures will be taken for county commissioners to update your websites with. So with that, we're adjourned. We'll see everybody downstairs. Thank you.